Hi, fourth graders. Our grammar lesson today is on comparative and superlative adjectives and adverbs. And actually, it may seem familiar to you as we work through this lesson because we also looked at this in one of our very earliest word study lessons. But first, what is the difference between an adjective and an adverb? Well, you might remember that an adjective is a describing word, and it describes a noun, a person, place, or thing. Like purple is an adjective because it's describing my hoodie. So an adjective describes a noun. An adverb describes a verb. A verb is an action word. So if I was writing would be the verb. Quickly would be the adverb because that kind of describes the action. So I was quickly writing. Quickly would be the adverb. So adjectives describe a noun, adverbs describe a verb. So let's have a look here and practice. Is the underlined word in these sentences an adjective or an adverb? Let's see. She quickly put her name on the paper. Well, quickly put her name on the paper. That's kind of an action. So that's a verb, the put. So quickly is describing a verb. So that means quickly is an adverb. And here's another clue. Often adverbs end in ly. So there's a helpful little trick for you. The next sentence says, Tristan wore blue jeans to school. Well, blue jeans. Jeans, that's a noun. So blue is describing the noun, so that must mean blue is an adjective. I live in an old house on Market Street. Well, the old is describing the house, and house is a noun because it's a person, place, or thing. So that must mean old is an adjective. And now I need this black bar at the bottom of the screen to leave. Run upstairs and grab your jacket. Well, upstairs is telling us where to run. So run is an action, which is a verb. So upstairs must be an adverb because it's describing or explaining an action or a verb. Okay. So some adjectives and adverbs, they compare two or more things. And when that happens, they're called comparative and superlative. And one way to remember the difference is that a comparative adjective or adverb is comparing two things. For example, he is taller than me is comparing me and the person who is taller than me. So there's only two of us. Okay. To make a comparative adjective or adverb, we would just add that ER. If it's a one-syllable word like tall, if we're comparing how tall two people are, we would say taller. Okay, and the same with smart. She thinks she is smarter than me. Dad drives faster than mum. We just add the on when we're comparing two things and it's a one-syllable word like tall, smart, fast. If there's more than one syllable, we actually we add an extra word. We either say more or less. For example, she is more responsible than her brother. We wouldn't say she is responsibler than her brother because the word's too long, too many syllables. So we're just going to put more in front of it. She is more responsible than her brother. The store brand cereal is less expensive than the brand name cereal. Okay, so when there's more than one syllable, we're going to put more or less in front of the word to compare the two things the sentence is talking about. And of course, if the adjective or adverb ends in a Y, remember we looked at this in our word study lessons, we're going to drop the Y and put IER on the end. For example, lazy, if we're comparing the cat and the dog to see which is more lazy, we would say the cat is lazier. So we've got that but we're putting an IER because we're taking off the Y. My suitcase is heavier than my backpack. And then the question at the bottom is which word always comes after the comparative? Well, if you look at all of these sentences, which word? Than. Because we're comparing two different things. He is taller than me. Okay, we're comparing two different things. Now, superlative adjective or adverb is when there's more than two things. For example, he is the tallest kid in the class. So we're talking about more than two people. We've got a whole class now. Okay. And it's the same kind of pattern with a superlative, except instead of adding ER, we add EST. That is the cutest baby I have ever seen. We're not just comparing two babies to say which one is cuter. We're saying that is the cutest out of all the babies I've ever seen. Yesterday was the coldest day of the year, and cute and cold have one syllable. So instead of adding ER, we're adding EST because we're comparing more than two. Now, if the adjective or adverb is more than one syllable, we're going to add we're going to add most or least to the sentence. For comparative, we added more or less, but for superlative, we add most or least. He was the most adorable puppy in the store. That was the least difficult problem on the page. So we're just adding in that word. We're not going to say adorablest or difficultest. We're going to add most and least. And just like with comparative, if the word ends in a Y, we're going to drop the Y and have IEST. This is the prettiest dress I own. You are the funniest person I know. What word always comes before the superlative? The. If you look at all of these sentence examples, the. That is the cutest baby. Yesterday was the coldest day. He was the most adorable puppy. That was the least difficult problem. So that word the always comes before the superlative, adjective, or adverb. Okay, so let's try it out. After reviewing, if the word has one syllable and it's comparative, comparing two things, we add ER. If it's comparing more than two things, we add EST. If there's more than one syllable for comparative, just comparing two things, we're going to add the words more or less. If it's superlative, more than two things, we're going to add most or least. And if the adjective or adverb ends in Y, we're going to drop the Y and we're going to add ER for comparative and IEST for superlative. So let's try it out. That was the something cake ever, to do with delicious. Okay. Well, something cake ever. So it's talking about all the different cakes. So that must be superlative because it's not just comparing two cakes. And delicious has got more than one syllable. So that means we have to add in most. That was the most delicious cake ever. So that's superlative. We are something today than tomorrow, to do with busy. Well, we're comparing today and tomorrow, just two different days. So we know it's going to be a comparative adjective or adverb. And I know it ends in a Y. So it must be busier because it's comparative with the ER. And we're turning that Y into an I. We are busier today than tomorrow. Okay. My bedroom is something than my brother's, to do with clean. Now it's just my bedroom and my brother's bedroom. So it's comparative because we're just comparing two. And clean is one syllable. So I just need to add the ER. My bedroom is cleaner than my brother's. Okay. A kitten is something than a cat. Oh, same again. We're just comparing kitten and cat. Playful. Playful has more than one syllable. So we're going to have to add a word, more or less. A kitten is more playful than a cat. Okay. She is the something person that I've ever met, to do with nice. Okay, it's talking about the something person that I've ever met. We've met a lot of people. So it's going to be superlative because it's comparing more than one person. And it's just one syllable. That means I'm going to have to just add EST. She is the nicest person that I've ever met. Now be careful. There are some rule breakers because think about the word good. What do you think the comparative and superlative adjective adverbs are for the word good? Hint, it's not gooder and goodest. Can you think about what it might be? What the comparative and superlative ones might be? Yeah, better and best. So watch out for those rule breakers. But in general, when we're thinking about comparative and superlative adjectives and adverbs, you just need to remember it's comparative if we're only comparing two. It's superlative if we're just got a super big group. Okay? And compare, we're just using the ER and more or less, or the IER. Superlative, we're using EST, most, least, IEST. Okay, those rules will help you out as you decide whether to use a comparative or a superlative adjective or adverb. Now you have a Google form activity to review some of these words, so have fun with that.